What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of my hip hop reviews. Before I start, I have an announcement to make. I know a lot of people have been requesting me to do certain albums, and I'm sorry if I haven't gotten to those albums yet. I've been hella busy past couple of weeks, or should I say months, like trying to get school situated, trying to get music situated, just got a new job and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? And so I'm really gonna do those albums for you guys, you know what I'm saying? For the people who actually request me to do those albums and I haven't gotten to them yet, I'm definitely gonna do a review on those. These next couple of reviews are gonna be like all request videos. And also I'll sometimes I might listen to one album one day and I might love vibing to the album so much that I just say, I'm gonna do a review on it, you know what I'm saying? So these next couple of videos are going to be all request videos. Other than that, let's get started with the review. Yes. De La Soul, Stakes is High, 1996, Tommy Boy Records. Yeah, you guys should know who De La Soul are. One of the greatest groups in hip hop history. Oh wait, hold on 1 minute. Like I said, one of the greatest groups in hip hop history. Pasta News, Truco the Dove, and Pacemaster Mace. They're from Long Island. They actually met in high school, and they formed like De La Soul together. And the demo tape Plug Tuning, it actually got the attention of Prince Paul. And Prince Paul at that time, he was doing his thing, he one of the most influential hip hop producers of all time. He actually was producing for Stetsasonic, another underrated hip hop group. I definitely get some of the albums too. So he actually produced De La Soul's first 3 albums. And a lot of longtime fans have actually said that Prince Paul was like the unofficial 4th member of De La Soul. And I kind of have to agree with that because like he was so heavy with De La, especially in the late 80s, early 90s, things of that nature. So in 1989 they dropped 3 Feet High and Rising, which was like very, very influential album in hip hop, a high point. Actually got album of the year. A lot of magazines called it album of the year, critically acclaimed and stuff like that. And it was like a very good alternative of the gangster rap that was rising, because native tongues were talking about like, conscious hip hop, black empowerment, and like you had people like Tribe Called Quest. Although like Tribe Called Quest, even though they dropped their first album, People's Instinctive Travels and Path, that album in 1990. I think they dropped like a couple singles back in 1989. Queen Latifah, The Jungle Brother, I think had 2 albums under the belt around that time. And yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so despite the success of 3 Feet High and Rising, what happened? A lot of people were calling them like hippies. They said accused them of making like white people hip hop, and they were getting like a lot of flack from like a lot of the hip hop community at times. It got to the point where like in 1990, after in the appearance of the Arsenio Hall show, they were called. I think Arsenio was the one who called them hippies, and they said, and the crowd was like applauding, and I think they were performing one song from 3 Feet High Rising. But like the credits were rolling when they performed the song. And Pasta News, he actually mentioned that in the track, in the Pass the Plugs track in the De La Soul is Dead, which was released in 1991. Excuse me. Sorry about that, y'all. Yeah, De La Soul is Dead was released in 1991, and that was another great album, another classic album right there. At that time, though, it was actually at that time a lot of people were like didn't know what to think about the album because it was like more dark. It wasn't like dark. It was like more serious. You know what I'm saying? Like you had songs like Millie Pulled a Pistol on Santa, past past the plugs, Orders of O's, you know, like that. Then 1993, they dropped Blue Mind State, which was De La Soul growing musically because it had like more of like a stripped down like funk soul kind of sound, you know what I'm saying? And that album was very dope. Another dope ass album. I need that album in my collection too because that album was very hard to come by. Although they did reissue the album a couple years ago, it's still like hard to come by, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And 1994, they dropped an EP called Clear Lake Auditorium, which was another like sought after item in their discography. Cause like they only dropped like 500 copies of that EP, and they got sold out that quick. So between 1994 and 1996, you know, they were like observing hip hop, and at the same time, 1996, this was released like the whole East Coast, West Coast, AK, and then commercialism of hip hop. So yeah, in 1996 they dropped this album right here. Oh, a little trivia, some trivia. This is the first album where Prince Paul did not produce any joints on his album. You know what I'm saying? It's not like Prince Paul had any beef with De La. Yeah, it's not that he didn't have any beef with De La. He just like didn't produce anything. You know what I'm saying? And so like I believe this was actually the second to last album on Tommy Boy Records too. And producers include De La Soul, Spearhead X, Skeff Ensom, OG, and JD, aka J Dilla. And guest appearances include Common, Johnny, a dope R&B group of the early to mid 90s. They were signed under Queen Latifah's Flavor Unit label. Very dope R&B group. Check out their first album, pronounced Johnny, 1993. You won't be disappointed. Mos Def, which actually he actually got more exposure when he was on this album too. And Shu Enola. Yeah. Singles albums are known for are It's So Easy, 8 Hot, 4 More featuring Johnny, and Stakes is High. Now out of all the albums in their discography, this is like their most controversial album because of the fact like it was like more darker, and it was like they were like attacking like a lot of commercial what was going on in hip hop at that time though. And like a lot of rappers took offense to it, you know. Like two rappers in general, Tupac, because the beef between De La and Tupac happened like this. Pac actually thought that like De La dissed him in like in the Ego Trippin' video back in 1983. And because you know like if you seen the Tupac video for I Get Around, you know, it has like they had like a little pool party and all that joint with, and Ego Trippin', they were like making fun of like hip hop videos at that time. And if you've seen the video, you will see why Pac dissed him. I mean, why Pac thought that they dissed him. But Pop News, I think Pop News said that it wasn't meant to be as a diss, and that kind of died down until it was brought back up when the beef between De La Soul and Naughty by Nature happened. And it was like, I think Tretch thought that, from what I was looking up, you know, about this album, Tretch thought that like they dissed him after they used some of his lines on the Stakes is High, that song. And you know, Tretch and Pac were like close, very close around that time. and so Pac got back to diss them on the Against All Odds song from the Don Illuminati album, and I think it had, I also heard that like Tretch actually had a fight with Pasta News on stage one time. I think one time back in like 96, 97, I believe so. And yeah, if you have any information about that whole beef, post that in the comments too. Anyway, let me show you the cover. This is the cover of the album. Very, very dope cover. Like, I like all these kids, you know, saying this album cover like that, you know. And I want to take you through like the inside booklet. See De La Soul right here. You know, representing Long Island represent. What else? What else? And then you see like they have the whole thank yous, and they have the kid wearing the De La Soul shirt. I need to get that. Need to get this shirt too, to be honest. And right here they have some of the lyrics to Stakes is High. Yeah. Alright. Oh yeah, another thing too. Like, there was this one documentary called Copyright Criminals. I came out, I think, about 2008, 2009, around that time. And if you notice about the production of this album, it has more like a down some of the songs have like a down tempo kind of vibe to it. And like Posnu said, like, in order for them not to be sued, they would give like a list of songs they could use for the album. And the producer wanted them to use those samples. Wait, the label actually wanted them to use those samples for that album. And all of a sudden, they did what they had to do with these samples, right? With the samples they picked, they did what they did on this album. I think the production played a key point for this album's success. You know what I'm saying? Now let me get started with some of these songs. The first song is an intro, basically an intro, where it's talking about like interview with this some people. They asked random people what did they think of Boogie Down Productions' Criminal Minded album. Basically it's a very, very, very dope intro, because at least that's the whole tone of the album, respecting hip hop culture. And track number 2, Super MCs. Before I get to the song, I must say that the wordplay on this album, 10 out of 10. But I mean, you have to listen to certain songs. You have to listen to about 3 or 4 times just to really get what they're really saying, though. But track number 2, Super MCs, very dope song. Love that song. I love that beat to it. Self-explanatory. It's talking about like how most MCs, they're not really rapping like that, you know. They're mostly doing it for like commercialism, and they're talking about materialistic things. One line in particular, Pasta News mentioned. He mentioned this one line. He said, "I heard you want to fight me with the words on stage, so Mace pulls the instrumental from the jam you made. And as he starts cutting what you sold, I'll talk all over your tones, as if my name was Pete Walker or Sean Puffy Combs." And that line in particular was very, very, because you know how a lot of producers, like in the mid-90s, East Coast producers in general, like, I'm not trying to spit out like none of those producers, but you know how most producers would like talk over your songs, like talk over your songs like that. And I believe like Suge Knight, like that whole Suge Knight, when you mentioned it, like what the Sorcerer, he's like produced all in your records, all in your videos. You know, I believe like De La Soul kind of like alluded that a little bit, but I kind of thought that was like a really very clever line right there. I don't know if it's just me, but hey, track number 3, The Business featuring Common.
And bass up the track a little bit, because I want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Play the greater man's game to bounce off my loss, so I could earn the acres, the house, the horse. Of course, it's much greater than your Benz or your Lex. The engine to my comprehension is just too complex, much too complex. Effects be live like dots, making moves down south to avoid the chaos. I never flaunt the coin, cause dime getters be gazing. They call me Luther Van, they say my style is so amazing. I'm facing those who supposed to have the last chapter, cause even when
That's track number 3, The Business, featuring Common. Common, you know, he was really getting like a lot of exposure around that time too. You know, with the Resurrection album, his beef with Ice Cube, and you know, he was getting like a lot of exposure, and you know, around 96, 97, when he was getting ready to drop One Day It Will All Make Sense, you can really hear like the maturity in Common. And that's one thing like about Common though. He was very consistent, and the maturity like in his flow and his subject matter. Other than that, this song, The Business, basically talking about like the music business, the music industry in general. And one thing in particular I love about that song is like the chemistry between how Common and like De La were going back and forth, and. Believe it or not, that song was actually one of the first mainstream productions that Jay Dilla has ever done. You know what I'm saying? Actually, I was mistaken because Jay didn't actually produce the song. It was De La Soul that produced the song. Sorry about that mistake. Anyway, track number 4. Once again, Long Island. Another really clever wordplay, example of clever wordplay. That song basically was like how De La Soul was like getting really, really popular, but at the same time, they still represent Long Island, and like it talks about how they're dealing with like things like fame and money. You know what I'm saying? And so I kind of thought that was a really nice song right there. That beat alone, very, very boom bap, very New York in general. That's the one thing about New York hip hop, East Coast hip hop, like has like that mostly down tempo. It had like its own style. You know what I'm saying? It had its own style like around that time. These days a lot of New York rappers kind of sound like they're from the South. And track number 5, Didn't. Yeah. Now this is one of my favorite songs off the whole album. First of all, like it's kind of like a feel good club banger song, but at the same time, it's like a smooth. It has like a smooth, like lounge kind of sound to it. You know what I'm saying? And I love this song. It has like it's a feel good song. You know, something unheard of in like 1996. You know, cause like it was like a feel good party kind of song. You know, nothing else can be said. Track number 6, Breaks.
There's a lot of people out here who just don't know what place the factor is with heads and toes. We be the kids banging out of them stereo kits, whether cassette, radio, or CD disc. Mixtapes from the best going on and on out city grounds.
Obviously, the song's title is really paying homage to Curtis Blow's song "Breaks," and that song it was a cool song. It's a nice little song. Not really the biggest fan of that song, but at the same time, it's not like a bad song. And excuse me. And that's one thing about De La Soul. You know, they were very, 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 like I said before, clever. You know, clever with like the subject matter. And like I said, you have to hear the song like a couple times to really know what they were talking about, especially like the Blue Mind Stage, Stakes High era. Next song, Dog Eat Dog.
It's a dog-eat-dog competition. I'll be gone like you wish, and I'm out. 'Cause I ain't got time hanging around when you fucking my love in all the wrong places. It's a dog-eat-dog competition. I'll be gone like you wish, and I'm out. 'Cause I ain't got time hanging around when you fucking my love in all the wrong places. It's a dog-eat-dog competition. I'll be gone like you wish, and I'm out. 'Cause I ain't got time hanging around when you fucking.
Another really classic song right there. One of the most underrated joints from the whole album. That song is basically talking about how a lot of rappers are not like doing hip hop like the right way, and how they're like misusing hip hop, you know, and talking about like, you know, girls and like gangster rap and things of that nature. And this was like very, very like a cool song, you know what I'm saying? And it was a very cool song. Like it's a dog eat dog, you know. Very, very nice song. Love that song right there.